Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. So first off, I want to say I've tried to hold off recording this video for the last hour or so because my upstairs neighbor is, I don't know what they're doing, but they've been stomping pretty aggressively for the past 3 hours. I have no idea what's going on. It's 10 o'clock right now, 10 o'clock at night, and they're still aggressively stomping. So if you hear miscellaneous noises, that is what is going on. I just cannot hold off filming any longer. So if you do not know, I used to struggle with binge eating disorder. I was at one point in high school 220 pounds, and now I'm 150-ish, 155. For the most part, I have beaten my binge eating disorder, but I also feel like binge eating disorder or any eating disorder you're never fully free of. So I don't want to give the impression that I have a perfect mentality when it comes to food and all that jazz, because it's a constant process. I'm really happy with where I am now versus where I was. And so I basically just wanted to share kind of my tips that helped me get over binge eating disorder, because I know when I used to look up online how to help myself and how to stop, there would just be the most bullshit lists. For example, drink water, drinking water helps. Which to some extent, yes, if you struggle with overeating, I think that drinking water can help because you feel more full. But binge eating is a totally different ball game. It's not drinking water would have never helped me overcome my binge eating disorder. And I'm sure a lot of you guys are in the same boat where it's what the fuck is drinking water gonna do? So I have a list here. How many do I have? 10 different steps or things that I was more mindful of and that you might be able to be more mindful of that will help you if you feel like you're about to binge, or also kind of what to do after you binge. So number one is keep any food that you would be tempted to binge on out of your kitchen, which I know is kind of self-explanatory, but that even goes for when I used to binge, I wouldn't even binge just on snacks or candy. It wasn't stuff that you think of when you think of binging. It was more of kind of anything that tasted mildly good, not even great. I would never buy candy, I would never buy anything like that, but I would still binge on other foods. So baked potatoes, for example. Don't think of it as just junk food. Think of it as any type of food that you might be tempted to binge on or use in a recipe or use to cook something that you want to binge on, which I know is a really drastic measure. But that's what really helped me in college, because if you don't really know my story of recovering with binge eating, I struggled with it from junior year to the end of senior year. So about 2 years, I would say. And college was what really helped me overcome it, mostly just because in my dorm, I didn't have any food in my dorm. I would have to go down to the food hall, I think it was called, or cafeteria, to get breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And so I literally didn't have any food in my dorm to eat at all. And that was a main changing point for me. If you don't have anything to eat, you have to literally get in your car to go drive somewhere, chances are you're probably not going to binge, because binging is more of a split-second decision, not something that you plan out. So that's my number one rule, just because I would say that was the biggest thing that helped me stop binging, was just literally lack of access to food. And kind of alongside that, I guess, is my number two, which is also keep easy to make food out of your kitchen. For example, pasta, having pasta in your cupboard uncooked, at least for me with my history with binging, I would never have spent 10-15 minutes to make myself a pot of pasta to eat. For me, it was more just stuff that I could kind of grab and eat. So alongside keeping junk food out of your kitchen, try to keep foods that are easy to make, microwavable stuff, prepackaged stuff. Try to keep all that stuff out of your kitchen, and you can even spin it to your parents well, prepackaged food isn't healthy, so maybe we could go grocery shopping for more whole foods that we have to cook to make a meal, if that makes sense. If you can't convince your parents to throw away all the foods that you'd be tempted to binge on, try to convince them hey, well, it's healthier if we eat this way, and then you won't be tempted to binge on the stuff in your freezer or your fridge. So tip number 3 is kind of taking a step back when you feel like you're going to binge, which I know is really hard. So what I would make myself do is literally leave my house. not even just go into a different room in the house. Like, no, I would go on a walk, like actually leave my house. And when I'm out of the house and I'm out of that environment, I can take a couple deep breaths and think to myself, okay, is this going to be worth it? Like, are you even going to enjoy this food? Probably not, because you're going to feel such intense feelings of shame and guilt, etc. when you are done. The worst part for me was the morning after, because you feel so full, you feel bloated, like you just wake up and you automatically remember like what happened last night and you're like, oh, I wish I wouldn't have done that. So the morning after is always the worst for me. So that's what I would picture. Like, I would go on a walk and I would picture, okay, so imagine yourself tomorrow morning after not binging. Like, I'd be a lot happier. Just kind of having that mental clarity to be like, this literally is not worth it, helped me a lot, because before I would kind of just be in the moment and be like, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. But ask yourself, why don't I want to do it? Because it will make me feel like crap after, and it also won't even really taste good because I'm not going to be enjoying it. Tip number 4 is another one that's a lot easier said than done, but just remind yourself that you are the only person who is in control of yourself, which try not to think of it in a blame way. Like, don't think of, I'm blaming myself for doing this. Try to reverse it and be like, I have total control over the situation. Like, I am in control of my own actions. I am in control of my body. I am in control of what the food that I put into my body, and just basically be in control of yourself, and kind of flipping the blame from being like, I'm doing this wrong, to I have control to change this situation, really changed my mindset, because when you feel like you have control over it, it's not as scary. Tip number 5 is to stop restricting yourself. So I know you've probably heard it before, you're most likely to binge if you feel hungry, which sucks, because I know for myself, after I would binge, I would definitely try to restrict myself. Not even in not eating, but I would try to stick to, for some reason in my head, I had this magical number that 1,200 calories was like how much I needed to eat. And so I would always try to restrict myself to 1,200 calories. But so this was in high school. Even though I was binge eating, I was still active and I was still playing soccer. I needed to eat more than that, you know? And so I would be hungry, and I think that was really a big reason of why I struggled with it for so long, is because I would binge and then restrict myself, which would make me hungry, and then I would binge again, and it would just be like this really fucked up cycle. I know it's hard because you automatically, when you binge or overeat, a lot of people, if they struggle with an eating disorder in the past, they automatically want to restrict themselves and try to prevent themselves from gaining any weight. But focus right now on repairing your relationship with food and trying to learn how to nourish your body with the foods that it needs, instead of trying to restrict yourself just so you can fit into a certain size jeans. I really wish I would have started doing that earlier, because I could have saved myself 2 years of what kind of were the worst years of my life. If I would have just taken a step back and kind of learned how to feed myself properly, I don't think that I would have struggled with it for so long. I truly believe that binge eating mostly stems from people restricting themselves in one way or another. My number 6 is try to be open about the fact that you're struggling with binge eating disorder. So in high school, I didn't even talk to Sarah, my literal best friend, my twin. I didn't even talk to her about what I was going through, just because I was so ashamed of it. Like, it's not fun. It's like you literally try to hide the fact that you're binge eating. So even though I lived in a house with my mom, my dad, and my sister, I would try to hide the fact that I would binge from them, and I would eat in private. I wouldn't talk about it. And I was just struggling alone for a long time. You already feel ashamed from it. Isolating yourself it's just gonna make things a million times harder. So if you have someone that you can talk to about it, it's gonna be really hard to open up. Even just text them about it. Like, texting is so much easier than saying things face to face. It'll help you feel less shame about it, and it'll be like a huge relief. And they also might be able to help hold you accountable. So if I would have told my sister that I was struggling with this, she could have held me accountable at home if she knew what behaviors to look for. Okay, number 7 is kind of weird, but chewing gum and also keeping like 0 calorie, kind of sugary, not sugary because it's 0 calorie, but for example, like vitamin water zero, those kind of like fruitier drinks that are low in calorie, and gum in my kitchen helped me a lot because it helped keep my mouth and my taste buds occupied. So if I felt like I wanted to binge on something, I could have a really tasty, I love vitamin water, so other people might not think it's tasty, but I personally think that vitamin water is yummy. So I would sip vitamin water, for example, or chew on bubble gum was my favorite. Even like the zero sugar kind, this gum tastes good. Like I don't need to go and eat something else in the kitchen. For rule number 8 is just try to remember that there's 3,500 calories in a pound. I feel like people, when they binge, they think, oh my God, I've gained like 3 pounds from this. Like so many people fail even on the 10K calorie challenge, eating 10,000 calories in a day, and eating 10,000 calories in a day wouldn't even be enough to have you gain 3 pounds. So I know that when you like eat 2 slices of cake or something, it feels like, holy shit, I just ate so much, I'm gonna gain so much weight. But just keep in mind, like, no, you didn't. And then also keep in mind that weight is completely temporary. Like, just because you gain it doesn't mean that you can't lose it. So I know that it might feel like your world is crashing down around you because you feel like you don't have control over your eating habits, but it is only temporary. You could gain 50 pounds and you can still lose it. So just try to keep that in mind. It's not permanent. It's not going to stick with you forever. You will get past it, and just try not to focus on the numbers so much. Rule number 9 is plan out exactly to a T what you're going to eat the next day. When I used to plan out exactly what I was going to eat, I would use my Fitness Pal and plan out my exact meals to a T, just because it wouldn't give me any wiggle room. I mean, it's not the same thing as meal prepping. You can meal prep too. I've never personally meal prepped because I just feel like it would take forever, but it's kind of the same thing as meal prepping, because you are literally saying, I'm going to eat this amount exactly, and there's no excuses for me to eat anything else. That would take out the guesswork for the next day, and it would be a lot easier for me to follow, okay, this is exactly what I need to eat. If you get hungry, it's okay to eat more. Like, if you're hungry, definitely eat more. Don't restrict yourself. I never really found that I was hungry when I did that. I found that it was usually a perfect amount of food, and taking the guesswork out of what I was gonna eat also removed a lot of fear, because I just constantly kind of lived in fear. Like, I hated coming home because I would be hungry after school and I'd be like, oh, I know I'm probably gonna binge when I get home. But if I knew exactly what snack I wanted to eat when I got home, it wasn't as scary, if that makes sense. And my last one is, if you do binge, use that food as fuel, okay? I have a lot of people in my comments that want to start lifting, and just pretend you're bulking. Like, literally just say, okay, I ate a lot, I'm gonna use it to kill it in the gym tomorrow. It takes extra calories to build muscle. Okay, use those extra calories from your binge. Use it for something positive so that it's not something totally negative in your life. Don't go crazy. Like, don't go do a bunch of cardio trying to burn off all the calories that you did. More cardio doesn't mean that you're gonna lose more weight. You'll just end up hitting a plateau and just run yourself into the ground. Just use the extra calories that you consume to help you build muscle, basically. So yeah, that is my list of all this stuff that I either incorporated into my life or wish that I would have incorporated into my life when I struggle with binge eating. I just wanted to film this video because I feel like I get a lot of DMs from people asking me for tips and all that kind of stuff. And I know that it kind of feels like it's never gonna end or it'll never get better, but trust me, it does. If I can do it, I felt like I would never get over it, and I felt like it would consume me forever. So if I can get over it, trust me, you can. It would be really cool if people would share their experiences with it in the comments, because I know that it would make probably a lot of people feel less alone. So if you feel comfortable sharing your story in the comments, either of how you're currently struggling with it or how you struggled with it in the past, that would be awesome. Yeah, I just hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope it was helpful, and I hope that it made sense also. So, but yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I am going to go to sleep now. I think it's like 10:30, maybe 11. So I am tired and I'm gonna go to sleep, but I will just talk to you guys in my next video.